I'm Colonel Klaus Eckert, retired. My nickname in the Air Force is Mufti, so if you want to talk to anybody who asks for me in the Air Force, you better ask for Mufti. Huh? Yeah. Well, I joined the Air Force right after school, and because already in school I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
I joined the Air Force in 1958, and then I had my training in the United States, and we flew the T-Bird. You probably find the T-Bird only in museums today.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And then my first combat aircraft was the F-86, the F-86K in Germany and the F-86L in the United States. That was the one with the rocket pods underneath. Huh?
Very nice.
And then I was a pilot, an operational pilot in Fighter Wing 74 Neuburg. And after that, during that time, I was the first one from Neuburg to transfer to the 104 Starfighter.
Oh wow!
The aircraft everybody loves. So
right on.
It was a dangerous aircraft, and you really had to do had to know what you're doing. But I think Arnulf is the same. We both still love this aircraft. Huh?
Sure.
And I remember the times, when the Americans were stationed in Bitburg in Hahn, flying 102s, and they came to Neuburg and said, I would give my right hand to fly the 104. Right. Huh? And I also was a test pilot on the F-104, and during a test ride with a clean 104, the thrust to weight ratio during takeoff was nearly 1-to-1. Wow. So I had about the same amount of thrust with no external tanks. Huh? Then I flew a while on the 104 and had a very interesting training in the United States as a weapon instructor, the fighter weapons school. And then I came back to Germany. And then I was very lucky because I became a squadron commander right here on this place. Over there is my old building of the 711 Squadron in Fighter Wing 71 Richthofen. I was also lucky after that time. I went to the staff. Obviously, everybody has to go to the staff. But then I came back and was the wing co-flying. And then after that, I had to go to the ministry. Couldn't prevent that. And then I came back and was a station commander. And this was the greatest time ever.
Yeah.
Within this time, we also changed the weapon system from the Starfighter 104 to the Phantom. And of course, we like the Phantom as well. But it was the better machine for the mission we had to fulfill. But what I have to mention is that there was a big discrepancy, because looking at the Phantom as a multi-role airplane, all of a sudden we came up, or our leaders came up, with the tactical fighter concept. That meant we had to go air-ground and air-air. Mm-hmm. And this was the problem we had at this time. The number of hours that were available to the aircrew was not enough to train both roles.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was always a struggle, because until that time we were strictly air defenders, fighter pilots. And now all of a sudden with this air-ground role we had a little difficult, and it was abandoned later on. So this is basically my career, and then after my flying career I went to London. I was at the embassy. I was a German air attaché in London. Came back and was a deputy commander of SOC 1, Sector Operations Center 1. This is the air defense station here in North. And then I retired, and now I live up to old stories with my old friends, because he was a pilot in my squadron.
Yeah. So that's how you knew each other?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We know each other since, I think, beginning in the 80s, when I told you yesterday when I moved over from Jever to Wittmund and transferred to the F4. And he was my wing commander for 4 years at that time, and I enjoyed to fly with him. I enjoyed to be here. And as you see, this is the last Phantom we had, and we faded out in 2013. And because we still are in contact together, because we're living nearby to Wittmund. I live in Jever, and that is just adjacent to it.
Yeah. So could you tell us about the reunion we're currently at? Does this go on every year, and when did it first start?
You mean This reunion, this reunion is done every year, and it's a Richthofen community with a chairman and former wing commander of Neuburg, of the sister wing from here, and we just celebrate tradition, memories, and that's the reason why we meet every year.
Yeah. So I'll ask you both, favorite aircraft.
The favorite aircraft still is the 104.
Still
huh?
104.
But as I said, the Phantom, of course, was the better fighting machine.
Yeah.
And the more secure, 2 engines. If you fly 200 miles out of sea on a TESMO mission, Tactical Air Support to Maritime Operations, and you have 200 miles to go over the sea, it's a nice feeling to have 2 engines behind you rather than one. Well, like in the Starfighter. Right? And then of course the turn rate and all these things were better here, because the 104 was a flying missile, and it was for NORAD, for the North American Air Defense System. It was created, to hit and run. And then we had the problem of he was an IP, I was an IP, to train people how to fight with the 104 against the MiG-21.
Yes, true.
The MiG-21 was, at that time, at our time, was our primary opponent.
Yeah.
And this aircraft, the MiG-21 with delta wings, had a much tighter turn radius than we did. Nowadays, the dogfight is more remote because of all the standoff weapons, the long range. You shoot from the front, 12 o'clock. In our time, the old fighter pilots had the saying, check 6. Well, that just means you always watch what you. Nowadays, you have to check. You have to check 360 degrees. They come from everywhere, even from the front. At the end, see this missile? That's the AIM-9L, the white missile there. Initially, we started with the AIM-9B, and we always had to come from behind, always stern attacks. So obviously you had to maneuver in this position. If you come head on, you start turning, and this was not the thing for the 104. So we had to do it. Now later on with the AIM-9L, we could at least sometimes had the opportunity to shoot from the front. And this is for the, but now today IRIS-T and AMRAAM, and so.
That was the future for us at our time.
So last question for you both, and you might have different stories in this. Did you find it difficult going from a single seat to working with the back seat, as Arnulf calls them?
Okay, in the beginning, we couldn't believe that we could fly an ACT, an Air Combat Tactics mission, with a backseater without him throwing up. This was the first thing we thought. I personally, I was still a squadron commander when we did this, and when the first WSOs, the German word KBO is completely nonsense, because KBO means Kampfbeobachter, watching the fight. Watching the fight. He doesn't watch the fight. WSO, the American expression, was the correct one. Weapon System Operator. And especially when we did our low-level training in Canada, where we really went down to the weeds. We were the man flying the aircraft, avoiding trees, rocks and everything, because we were really low and fast, 500 knots plus, at 100 feet or lower. And he had to work the systems.
And navigation.
And we adopted, or we accepted, I should say, we accepted the WSO very quickly. So it went better than we thought. Yeah.
What about your experiences?
Basically the same. Because we not went out to have just fun flying. We had to operate a weapon system, and the Phantom was designed together with a pilot, like he told me, and he told us, and with a backseater or a weapon system operator, and especially in even in dogfights, 4 eyes see more than 2. And the corrective commanding voice from the back seat, how to fight and where the enemy is very helpful. And in extreme low level flying in Canada, it was really a big help. We've tried to avoid the terrain, and the backseater or the VSO was navigating, and we exercises just to pick up enemies, threaten you, and that was very perfect. In the beginning, I told you already yesterday, when I transitioned from the 104 to the F4, and I told you the personal problems we had when we changed from the 104 just within 2 years to the back-seater, to the double-seater. We had really problems to recruit personnel, and therefore it was in the beginning a hard time for me to accept a guy in the back, and I had to do his work too, because he was in the beginning unable to do it because of training, 6 weeks just to get back to the KBO. It was the first training for them. And then when I go to George and came back from George as a weapon system operator, then you had a crew in the cockpit. And that was a hard time, but I got familiar with it.
So it sounds like you both had very interesting careers.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Of course.
Alle Scheiße, die auf einmal gegeneinander. Wir haben ja Kontakt zu unseren Vorstandswege.
Hier vorne sind noch Plätze. Möchte noch jemand sitzen?
Willst du noch sitzen? Du bist auch einer der Älteren. Danke. Hallo, moin.
Unseren Landrat, Herrn Holger Heimer. Und auch unter uns ist, wie eigentlich immer,
Ich habe ja so gegen aber 15, 11,5 Stunden in Sösterberg und bin ich als Techie Weltchecker.
Eigentlich sollte ich ein neues Hüftgelenk haben, will ich aber nicht.
Das haben wir davon.
Ablauf durch. Wir sehen ja den Titel da vorne. Und wir hatten ja auf der Einladung stehen 100 Jahre vom Block 1 zum taktischen Luftwaffengeschwader Richthofen.